If you're learning foreign languages, you have probably struggled with this feeling that you're not making any progress, that you're not improving, and that maybe you should just give up, make it easy for yourself. But have you ever considered that the reason why you're not fluent yet in the language you're learning is because you have bad language learning habits? You're just not learning foreign languages the right way, and that's why you're feeling demotivated and you feel like you want to give up. So let's begin with the first habit. You're probably not learning grammar the right way. Honestly, don't worry, because I feel like it's not your fault. This is something that we're taught in schools. When you go to school, you open your grammar book and you just go through the rules one by one. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's tedious, but after a year, maybe you memorize a few rules. Maybe. But in reality, this is not the best way to learn grammar, because in every single language, there is a certain process of development, or kind of like this unique order in which this language is acquired. As adults, we're often not patient when it comes to learning foreign languages. We feel like we want progress fast, and we want to memorize all of the grammar rules super fast, but it doesn't really work this way. You can't just turn off your natural language machine. And guys, we all have this. We all have this feel for language because you have learned your native language and you can speak your native language really well. And that's why right now when I'm learning Spanish grammar, I try to be very patient with myself, because I know that at the very beginning, I won't be able to construct super complicated sentences. And the same thing with English. You guys leave comments under my videos and tell me, Veronica, can you explain past perfect? But why? Do you think you're at this stage to be able to understand and use past perfect in your sentences? If the answer is no, then maybe it's a little bit too early, because we should all start with comprehensible input, meaning information that is easy to understand. In English, when you're learning I am running, it's a lot easier to understand than I have been running for the last hour. So before you move on to I have been running for the last hour, you have to make sure that you understand I am running really well, that you can construct sentences similar to this one, that you can pronounce all of these words really well, that you know how to pronounce ing in English correctly, that you feel extremely confident about this one grammar rule before moving on to the next. And also one thing that helps me a lot with grammar is Anki. I talk about Anki all the time, probably in every single one of my videos, just because for me it works. If it works for you guys, then please go ahead and use it as well. I just input my grammar sentences into Anki and I delete some of the grammar parts. For example, here's one of the sentences I have in my Anki deck about Spanish. So, cuando era niña, so era is the right answer. So basically when I see the sentence, I'm like, okay, what do I have to put here? Era. Cuando era niña, mis papás pretendían ser Santa Claus y nos daban muchos regalos. So these verbs like era, pretendían, and then daban are the words that I kind of have to memorize because they're all connected to a grammar rule in Spanish. And that's basically the way I memorize grammar rules. I make sure to create a sentence that is somehow connected to my life to make sure, my neurons are firing together. And then I also make sure to save all of this to Anki, because this way I can use the spaced repetition technology to help me learn new words. And I always tell you guys how important it is to expose yourself to more and more things when you're learning foreign languages. Obviously, don't just stop at Anki. Anki is a great app for memorizing things. But what about your listening comprehension? What about reading and writing? To immerse yourself in the target language, you can find a lot of cool materials and cool content online to consume. And probably for some of you guys, it's hard to enjoy good quality content in your target language because of your country, because of where you're located, because this content is just not available there. But don't worry, because today's sponsor, NordVPN, will help you here. NordVPN is one of the world's largest VPN providers. When using it, you can pretend to be in your home country while traveling abroad, or pretend to be in a different country when you're in your home country. This way, for example, you will get access to a lot more shows to watch in English to improve your your English. I particularly remember this one situation when I traveled to Brazil a few months ago and I could not watch my favorite show on Netflix, La Casa de las Flores, or The House of Flowers. But then I remembered that I have NordVPN, I turned it on and I switched the country to Mexico, and I was able to enjoy my favorite show and improve my Spanish. Additionally, NordVPN keeps you private and secure online by hiding your IP address and routing your internet traffic through an encrypted connection to a server owned by NordVPN. Sometimes when you go to coffee shops, you see free Wi-Fi's everywhere. For example, coffee-free Wi-Fi, and you just connect to it, and it looks totally normal. However, it turns out that it's actually being hosted by a random person who is trying to impersonate the free Wi-Fi access. So that's why, to always be on the safe side, I prefer to use NordVPN when I'm out and about, because it encrypts my data no matter if my connection is secure or not. So if you want to spice up your language learning and protect yourself online, make sure to use the link in my description and also in the pinned comment. Just make sure to use my code VeronicaEnglish or go to nordvpn.com/VeronicaEnglish to get not just 1, 2, 3, but 4 extra months on your 2-year plan. It's risk-free and they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now let's move on to the second bad habit. You're probably not memorizing words in English or Spanish or any other language you're learning correctly. Guys, I'm not gonna pretend or lie here. I have struggled with memorizing vocabulary in foreign languages a lot. I'm a human, I'm a student just like you. And sometimes I feel lazy. For example, yesterday I opened my Anki app and I had 100 new cards to review. And I was like, nah. I closed my computer and I went to bed. I'm not proud of that because I feel like today I'm gonna have like 150 cards or maybe even 200 cards to review, because obviously consistency is key. You have to revise your vocabulary every single day. However, I think what gives me this peace of mind is using Anki or using any other spaced repetition app. Right now we have so many. The reason why I love spaced repetition technology is because, for example, every single day I have a lot of work, right? I don't have enough time to memorize all of this new vocabulary or maybe add new words to my Anki cards. So what I usually do is I kind of do this intense language day every single Saturday where I sit down in front of my computer and I just add like, I don't know, maybe 100 new cards. And then the next week, every single day, I revise all of these cards little by little. This way, on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't have to worry about all the new cards I have to add to my Anki, because I know that I only do that on Saturdays or Sundays because it's when I relax, it's when I don't have any work. I know that some of you guys don't really like using Anki. You have shared with me in the past that some of you are using Quizlet or even you're creating your own flashcards. Whatever works for you. Again, I'm just sharing my experience here. But the most important thing is, for active memorization, you have to create strong bonds between like a memory in your brain and this word. So a few weeks ago, I was trying to memorize this new word in Spanish, el aguafiestas, which means like a party pooper, a person who ruins somebody else's party because maybe they look bored or they look tired. So I sat down in front of my computer, I opened Google Images, and I was thinking, how can I memorize this word effectively? And then I realized that obviously for me, the best way to memorize this word is connected to the word agua and maybe to the picture of a party, because maybe I could find like a picture of people drinking water and then another picture of a person looking very sad. So this is how I create those connections in my brain. El agua fiestas. The third bad habit you might have is you rely on apps way too much. To be honest, I have never met a person who has used Duolingo and has become fluent in this foreign language. It might mean that it's impossible, or it might mean that I have just never met this person before. But in reality, I personally prefer not to rely on language apps way too much, because some of them are too gamified. They're too much of a game instead of actually being a useful resource for language learning. And one interesting thing about some of those apps is that they really gives you this hope that if you only practice, let's say 20 minutes a day, you're gonna become fluent in a foreign language. Guys, in reality, learning languages takes a lot more time. I try to stick to 1 hour every single day, and then I do a crazy marathon on the weekends. Just because right now I'm extremely motivated. I need Spanish to live here in Mexico, and I want to be fluent. I want to have a very good command of the language. I want my Spanish to be as good as my English. And I decided to calculate how many days it's going to take you to become fluent, or to become confident when you speak this language if you only practice 20 minutes, but every single day. I know that some of us sometimes skips days, me included, but let's say 20 minutes every single day. So let's calculate. I have found online that usually it takes around 1,000 to 4,000 hours of exposure, of good quality exposure to this language to be able to become fluent, or feel confident when you interact in this foreign language. If my math is correct, it means that you need 3,000 days to become fluent if you only practice 20 minutes a day. And 3,000 days equals 8 years. You need 8 years to become fluent in a foreign language if you only practice 20 minutes a day. Of course, you're gonna tell me, okay, Veronica, but 8 years is better than 20 years. Of course, but for a person like me, 8 years is a lot of time. I really hope to become super confident when I speak Spanish, interact in Spanish in a year, 2 years max, because I have other languages to learn, I have other problems to solve in my life. So that's why I prefer to use various resources, not just apps. Let's say you're using Bold Voice. Bold Voice is a great app to improve your pronunciation in English. It's great, but don't just stop at that, right? Bold Voice only covers this need of, improving your pronunciation. But what about reading? What about listening? What about writing? You have to think about all of those things too, and obviously memorizing all of new words as well. The next bad habit you might have is you never speak. Of all the bad language learning habits, I feel like this one might be the most difficult to overcome for many people, because I know, guys, it's hard. I know you feel shy. I know you feel embarrassed when you start speaking in a foreign language, but you absolutely have to. Just think about it this way. It's just your ego feeling uncomfortable. Because obviously when I start speaking Spanish to people, oh my God, I start sweating, I feel shy and nervous and anxious because I'm trying to recall all of this vocabulary I need and all of those grammar rules, and it's uncomfortable. But I know that it's my ego. My ego feels uncomfortable because I'm so used to feeling comfortable when I speak a foreign language, for example, English, because English is not my native language. However, right now when I speak English, I feel very confident. Let me share another story with you because I feel like stories can help you guys learn me a little bit better and understand that I am just a student, just like you. Nothing too special about me. So a few days ago, I had to take an Uber to go to my workout class, and the Uber driver was very talkative. He was very nice and he was asking me a lot of different questions. And I felt great. At the very beginning of the conversation, I understood every single word. I felt confident. I could respond to every single one of his questions. But then he said this: "Qué padre que decidiste vivir aquí en México." And I was like, "Qué padre?" I was like, what, dad? Are you asking me about my dad? Live in Mexico? Like, my dad lives in Mexico? What? I was so confused. I was like, mi papá? I said, like, my dad? What are you trying to ask me? Oh my God. And now I know that this expression, que padre, means like que chido, like how cool in Spanish. But oh my God, at that moment, I felt so embarrassed. I was blushing, I was sweating, all of those things, because I was like, oh my God, no. I've been learning Spanish so consistently and seriously, and I don't know what this means. But it's okay, it's natural. The more you expose yourself to your target language, yes, probably the more mistakes you're going to be making, but at the same time, you will have more opportunities to learn from those mistakes and make progress. And finally, you probably don't have a clear goal. I have met so many people who have told me, Veronica, I'm learning English just because. Or Veronica, I'm only learning Spanish because I like it. Let me tell you guys, one day you're gonna hate the language you're learning. And this motivation and this goal of, oh, I like this language is definitely not enough. Let me tell you, at least once a week, I sit down and I think, Spanish is so hard. I don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't. But then I come back to my real goal. And this real goal gives me motivation. Obviously, for me, my goal is I live in Mexico. I think it's important for me to be able to speak Spanish to all the people who live here. And for me, this gives me a lot of motivation. Again, this goal has to be attainable and this goal has to motivate you. Maybe my goal sounds kind of weird for you guys, but it doesn't matter because it helps me. Also, I need to mention that sometimes you guys leave comments under my videos and you tell me, oh, Veronica, I'm learning Spanish because my partner speaks Spanish. And I'm like, okay, but again, this is not the right goal. Let's compare these two sentences. I'm learning Spanish because my partner speaks Spanish. And the second one is, I'm learning Spanish because I know that it will foster a deeper level of communication and connection with my partner whose native language is Spanish. Which sentence motivates you more to learn Spanish? I think it's the second one. Because to be honest, the fact that your partner speaks Spanish or your partner speaks Japanese is not enough. If you guys communicate in English or in another language and it's enough for you guys, it's gonna be enough because we're all lazy sometimes. And this motivation is not enough. You have to come up with something much stronger. Oh, fostering a deeper bond with this person. It is a very legit reason because obviously we all want to have a very good level of communication with our loved ones. So that's it for this video. I hope now you know how to correct all of your bad habits if you struggle with certain things in language learning. Don't forget to use my link in the description and give NordVPN a try. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in my next video.